Hey everybody. So today was a day. It's the end of Sunday, October 23rd. This is a beer I'm opening. They have beer vending machines here, which is pretty awesome. And actually, I'm going to go get a glass to pour this in because I'm a beer snob. Okay, so you can see I'm still wearing my traditional yukata. It's common to just wear this around the ryokan, even go around barefoot if you want. So this is my kind of place. I get to wear my PJs and walk around barefoot. So today we had to be up nice and early to get our luggage ready to go to Takayama. And so our big bags went on ahead of us, and we'll get them back tomorrow night, but for tonight we are staying in Hakone. And we spent most of our day in Kamakura, which we got to from by train from Tokyo this morning. We just had breakfast at the hotel in Tokyo and then immediately left to go catch a train. Got to Kamakura, and the first thing we did was go see this really, really beautiful bamboo garden that had like a tea house in it, and so we all got to have like a traditional Japanese tea. It wasn't like the full tea ceremony like you hear about, but it was just this beautiful tea house. It was kind of like a curved shape. It was open. It wasn't closed in at all. And so you sat on benches. Kind of reminded me of like an American amphitheater type thing, only it just had 2 or 3 rows. I think 2 rows, not a whole bunch. And it overlooked this beautiful garden that was just full of these huge tall bamboo trees and like a running waterfall. And it was just so peaceful. And the whole point of drinking Japanese tea in that setting is that it's supposed to be very zen. It's supposed to be very centering. And they brought out each of us a bowl of tea and then 2 sweet little candy type things that kind of melt or dissolve in your mouth, because Japanese green tea is very bitter. It was actually very thick too. I wasn't expecting it to be almost like a thick brothy type thing. And so you put the sweet in your mouth first and let it start to dissolve, and then you hold your tea and you're supposed to rotate it 3 times in your hand and then rotate it 3 times the other way to represent like the universe and coming full circle, and then you drink it. Not all at once necessarily, and then once you're done, you then eat the second sweet to help with the bitterness. So that was really cool, and probably the first time I really felt homesick sitting there. The rush of Tokyo had kind of subsided finally, and sitting and relaxing and thinking, made me miss home and miss my sweetie, and it was still nice though. And so then we had a few free minutes to kind of wander around the bamboo garden. And see some of the raked gravel as well, which had a little bit of that, and a temple that you could see the outside of. Unfortunately, while I was hoping to plan this trip when the leaves are turning, it's a little bit too early. So while they had some beautiful ginkgo trees, they were not turning yet. They were still very green. Still pretty, but I would like to have seen them, golden. Sorry, it's just been that kind of day. So from there, we took the longest taxi cab ride ever. Over to a big Buddha statue. I think it's the biggest one in existence at this point. It was originally constructed actually in 1252. The original structure itself is still standing. Apparently they built a few like houses around it that have all washed away with tsunamis and various other natural disasters, but the Buddha statue itself has been there. It's bronze. I'm sure they've kept it up and refinished it and stuff, but it is the same structure that's been there since 1252. And it was huge and really cool. And of course they sold like a lot of like blessings and charms around the area. That's kind of a big thing here in Japan. There's a lot of like meshing of Buddhism and Shintoism here. Even though they're talking about Buddhism, they still, when I say they, I mean our guide Royce, they still talk about like Buddha as being the great God, whereas I think in the United States we think of Buddhism as more of a philosophy and Buddha being more like a prophet figure, as opposed to an actual God. But here it's very much the concept that Buddha is a great God and there are other gods, and so you see the meshing of the Shintoism and Buddhism and some influence of Hinduism as well. So Buddha is the great God, and so we saw his statue and got to wander around there for just a few minutes. We have a very tight schedule. And then we left there and went to I think it was just the Kamakura temple. I totally forget the name of it. I'll have to look it up. But it was just this beautiful, huge complex of like gardens and koi ponds and a couple different temples and a shrine in a cave. I guess they're shrines other than temples. And they had the goddess who's kind of second under Buddha, who you're not allowed to take pictures of, so I didn't get any pictures. And so we got to go in and see her, and that's still like a very reverent area, not very touristy. You're supposed to be very quiet and not wear a hat, and they'll kick you out if you're laughing. But we got to see her. She's a big, huge golden statue and very cool. Also very old. I don't remember the exact year on her. Just very slightly younger than Buddha, so somewhere in the 1200s to 1300s, I think. And then we saw the third god, which is the angry god. And so he was one of the wise kings of wisdom, I think, is that third level. There are different castes for the gods and the existence of Buddhism here as it is now. So we saw his statue and then saw the inside of his shrine. This particular huge temple complex was really dedicated to deceased children and the unborn and the babies who have been miscarried or aborted, as well as pregnant women and travelers. Let's just throw that third one in there. I don't know why. And so they had statues just everywhere called Jesus, and Jesus is the god of all those things, the babies, the kids, the pregnant women, and the travelers. And so people will buy images of Jesus and then place him in various places around the shrine to signal to the god Jesus that their child or whomever has died, or that they've aborted a baby, or they had a miscarriage. And it's believed that babies go to hell immediately upon death because they've not lived enough to be able to cross the river and be reincarnated, and so or to go to heaven, and so they need help after they get to hell. And by putting that Jesus image out, and sometimes they even put the bib of the dead baby around the Jesus to help Jesus find the baby, and Jesus is supposed to go find the baby in hell and protect it and help it cross the river into either reincarnation or heaven. And so, I mean, they were just everywhere. There were hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of these statues just absolutely everywhere. I've got pictures that I'll put on my blog as well. But it was very, very moving. It was a really, really incredible place, especially for somebody in my line of work. And so that was really fantastic. We heard a lot of great stories from our tour guide, Royce, and had a great time. And everything was going swimmingly. And then we were supposed to catch the train. We had lunch in there somewhere, by the way, at a traditional Japanese noodle place, but I don't remember exactly what order that was in. And that's very good. That was another take your shoes off place, which was different. And so after all of that, we were supposed to leave Kamakura and catch the train to Hakone, which the whole journey was about an hour and a half between 3 different trains. And everything had been going great, and I thought the tour group is all cohesive now, and we've all gotten over whatever drama those 2 members were trying to cause the first day we got here. Everybody was happy, and then I'm standing on the train station waiting for our train to get there in Kamakura, and all of a sudden there's just like this explosion between the tour guide and one of the tour members. And they were just basically got into a yelling match in the middle of the train station. We actually had the senior supervisor from Samurai Tours traveling with us today to kind of supervise what was going on, because apparently a couple of our tour members sent him emails complaining about our tour guide, despite the fact I think she's been totally fine. I really enjoyed her. But they, as I said the first day, I think they just cannot be pleased and are not willing to listen a little bit extra to somebody who's maybe her first language isn't English, and so they just don't want to give her any leeway. And so Charlie was the senior supervisor who just followed us around all day to kind of watch the interactions and try to see where the problem was. And the Samurai Tours made her do something weird at the very start of the day before we left the hotel. She was told that she had to apologize to us 7 times, which I believe it was her Japanese boss who told her to do that, because I can't imagine an American boss doing that. And I felt honestly really horrible for her. I can't imagine how humiliating that was, and several of us were quite mad that she was made to do that. But again, we went through the rest of the day and thought everything was fine until this explosion in the train station. And the explosion kind of continued as we all got on the train, and they were yelling back and forth at each other in this crowded, I mean, you would think it was rush hour, even though it was Sunday, train, and Charlie, meanwhile, was trying to separate them and completely being ineffective at it. And they were just yelling back and forth, just a bunch of nonsense, nothing of substance, just you shut up kind of stuff. And then the member of the tour then said, well, I'm moving away, I'm going over here. And then the tour guide kind of shoved her. So that's unfortunate. Me and several of the other members of the tour were totally on her side and thinking if she can just deal with this, like, you know, we'll be fine, we'll get through it. I think that probably just lost her job, unfortunately. I think maybe we say goodbye to her tomorrow, and I suspect that'll probably be her last day with Samurai Tours, which is very unfortunate, and I just sincerely hope that the tour member who got shoved does not, you know, bring assault charges. It was not a hard shove. It's not like you could shove anybody hard anyway, because we were all packed into the subway. But of course, this member who had provoked and goaded the guide the entire time anyway and rolled her eyes at every opportunity and just kind of been really snide and arrogant and entitled, proceeded to spend the rest of the day crying on anybody's shoulder she possibly could and claiming that our tour guide physically attacked her. So that's been fun. And then once we arrived at the next train station, which I don't remember which one, maybe Odawara, we then had to all stand on the platform while they continued their fight and yelled at one another. And Charlie tried to calm things down and continued to be completely ineffective. And a couple other members tried to jump in and help to calm things down. And between the tour guide being upset and the tour member being upset and yelling back and forth and both of them being really rather melodramatic, we just kind of spent 15 minutes of our tour that we all paid thousands of dollars for, sitting on the platform of a train station listening to our tour guide and a tour member yell and scream at each other. So that was fun, and we finally got to Hakone. Charlie left us and went back to report to Samurai Tours. We got to Hakone, and the group kind of split into two, and those of us who are sane all went to this, we found this delightful little Japanese hole-in-the-wall restaurant, had a wonderful time and sat and talked, and that really redeemed the day. We had a wonderful time, and great food, and homemade plum wine, and delicious beer, and tempura, and miso, and this weird fish appetizer that I'm still not really sure what I felt about that. And then the members of the group who are kind of being drama queens all went to a different place for dinner on their own. And we stayed clear of them because we have no desire to be involved. When I say we, I mean me and two couples who are traveling together. We all seem to be very much on the same page. So, very eventful day. 90% of it was amazing. Kamakura is beautiful, and I would love the bamboo garden. Unfortunately, the green tea made me a little bit sick to my stomach, so I was really glad that I had some Zofran on me, or I might have been throwing up in the taxi cab. But other than that, it was a beautiful, fantastic day, and I learned so much and saw so much awesome stuff. And I'm so excited to be staying this ryokan and to have gone to the hot springs, and not got kicked out for my tattoo. It's a bummer that there was some drama, and in the moment, it kind of seemed like engulfing, and but ultimately, at the end of the day, it was, it comprised an hour of our day total of people yelling at each other. And the rest of the day was very, very enjoyable. And I've got lots of pictures and videos that I can't wait to share. And I wish I had Wi-Fi so that I could share them tonight. But unfortunately, I don't want to use my pocket Wi-Fi and suck up all my data. So next time I get access to free Wi-Fi, I will post it all, I promise, including my tour of the ryokan. So yeah, I think that's about it for today. We walked through many train stations today, and I can definitely say that as much as I complain in the United States about Americans not knowing how to just move, they just stop in the middle. And I guess the time I spent in Europe, Europeans don't do this. Americans definitely do. You walk in a door and somebody just stops in front of you, and they just block traffic, or they stop in the middle of the sidewalk. And it's so annoying, and I've always complained about Americans doing this. Oh my god, the Japanese are so much worse. They just stop wherever they want. It was totally unexpected. I thought they would be super conscious about what's going on around them, but you will just about run them over if you are not careful, because they will just stop in the middle. I continue to get lots of use out of my Japanese. A lot of the tour members today figured out that I can read it, and so I helped some people pick out their breakfasts by sounding out the katakana on various pastries so they could figure out what was in the pastry and if they wanted it or not. So that's been fun. Yeah, so all in all, I'm loving it. There's been some drama, but that's okay. It's meant that it has not ever been boring, I suppose. So we'll see what happens moving forward, and I will keep everybody updated. Oyasumi nasai!